Hey everybody, welcome to Difference Makers. My name is Pastor Tyler Warner from Calvary Chapel in Trussville, Alabama, here on BGTV. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope y'all are doing well. We're going to be talking about a very practical thing today about how to go about winning every day, to make every day something that you can be proud of and glad that you got the chance to live through. But first, I want to remind you about ironworks.media. At Calvary Chapel, Trussville, we are building the premier Christian resource network. We're putting on their books, podcasts, Bible teachings. We've got conferences that we've done, got lots of videos that we post. BGTV is helping us do a lot of that. We got the new book that just came out, The Desolation of Israel. Pretty soon here, if not already, the audio book is going to be available, so please go ahead and give that a listen. We've talked about it some on this podcast already, but there's other books available there as well. And you got to join our mailing list. If you join the mailing list at ironworks.media, you're going to get to download 2 free ebooks and keep up to date with all the things that we're going to be doing in the future. We've got a big book release coming this fall. You're not going to want to miss it. It's a missionary biography, and it's pretty spectacular. I can't wait to talk about the story here. But you can find all of that at ironworks.media. And if you want to find out more about the church I pastor, you can go to calvarychapeltrussville.com. All right, today we're talking about winning the day. And I'm talking about this subject today because I have had in my life way too many bad days. You know what I mean? I'm not just talking about, tragedy that's happened. I'm talking about you come to the end of the day and you go, what was even the point of that? I've had more than my share. I've had, the days where you come to the end of work and you're like, I did something, I guess. You go, I only accomplished like 2 things today and I was here for 8 hours. What happened? And then you get home and it's stressful there and everything else. And it's okay. Those are going to happen. I like to joke around at the office and say, like, every eighth work day or eighth, day in a row, I'm going to have a bad day where just nothing's going to get done. It's not going to feel right. And it's kind of a joke. And so we tease about that at the office. But if you get too many of these bad days in a row, it can really start to bum you out, man. It can really start to wreck your joy. It can really start to threaten your hope because although nothing in the big picture is going wrong, you've had so many small losses in a row, they just start to pile up. You see this with elite athletes, with wide receivers, when they have a couple drops in a row. It's like their entire demeanor and their whole body language changes, even though it's like, bro, there's a moth in my face right here. You're a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you're going to be upset by something like that? You're going to be upset by a moth flying in your face? No, I'm just kidding. But what we want to be able to do is to start to eliminate these things. When you start late on a day, then you fall behind, and you never catch up, and you come home and you just collapse, and you don't even want to go to bed because that would just feel like it starts again too soon. Many of us are good at getting motivated. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to motivate and inspire you to live the life that God has given to you. But life is made up of lots of days. Life is made up of that unit called the day, and there's a lot of them in a row. And when you have a good day, man, things just hum along, and you feel better, and you're raring to go for the next day. And there are sometimes you even can't wait to go to bed because you get to start over the next morning and get after it. But if you get enough bad days in a row, you can start to wonder why you even want to get up in the first place. So we got to learn how to win the day. We can't just have a 5-year plan. We've got to have a plan for attacking each individual day. And so I'm going to go through what is basically my process of how to do this. I'm hoping we can get through it all in one episode today, but maybe we'll have to expand it out. But if we want to talk about winning the day, we got to start with actually the night before. You got to start with the night before. Planning and preparation comes first. This is where you're going to plan. You're going to set your goals and targets for the day. You're going to make lists. You're going to evaluate how you did during that day. And I will say, as the most important piece, this is the hardest piece. If you try to do this part at the beginning of the day, you're already cutting into the time that could have been used for the things you could have planned the night before. And I know when you get home and you've eaten dinner and the kids are in bed and all you want to do is watch football or play Xbox, whatever, you don't want to sit down and plan something else out. But if you do that, it's going to set up the next day to be even better. So what do we do? How do we do this? I think that you ought to get into a rhythm and develop your own habits and your own way of doing this. Starting from scratch, this is the first time you're doing this, it might take an hour or two to do one of these. But in time, you'll be able to do it in your sleep, and it's just going to take a few minutes, and it gets easier and easier. What we're trying to do, by planning the night before, you are making decisions ahead of time. You are making your decisions for tomorrow right now. You are putting on paper, not a schedule you're imposing on yourself. You're saying, these are the decisions I have made about how I'm going to work tomorrow, how I'm going to live. And that frees you up the next day because you look on the schedule, you look on your list, you know exactly what the next thing is going to be. And it's not always that simple, but I'm talking about your average day, right? Your everyday day. And if you do that, it's going to be helpful for you. Because all the things that we talk about They've got to be done today. All the things I'm going to talk about, ranking your tasks and separating the blocks of time, all that's got to be done when you are relaxed and you're not on the clock and you're able to remember things. Again, if you show up to work and it's 9 o'clock and you want to try to get a to-do list done, it's too late already. It's already too late. The day has already started to impose itself upon you, and anything you might have been able to do in the morning is no longer possible. So you need to do it in the afternoon or the evening when there's no clock on this thing, when you can take the time to remember stuff and go back and edit it instead of remembering it at 2:30 when you're supposed to be somewhere at 3 o'clock. So if you don't plan, you're going to fail, right? Failing to plan is planning to fail, as they say. But it is simple as that. You need to learn how to do this. You need to get good at planning the night before so that the next day, all you've got to do is execute the plan that you've already made. So how does this look? I always start my planning and my preparation by doing what's called a mind dump. I can't remember where I heard this for the first time, but I just get a piece of paper, pull up a note on the phone or the computer, and I just write everything I can think of that I need to do tomorrow. I think of everything that could possibly go on that list, any appointments I've forgotten, any neglected tasks that are still sort of hanging over my head, anything I forgot to do today, I put them all on that list. And not just the things that are business related, but the fun things too. I would like to go fishing tomorrow. I would like to draw a picture and work on my art skills tomorrow, whatever it might be. You put them all in there. I go through every category of my life. We just did the series on having a complete life. We went over the 10 categories. I'll run through those things. What about my spiritual life do I want to do tomorrow? So devotions goes on the list. My physical life. Okay, I'm going to exercise tomorrow, and tomorrow's a cardio day, so I'm going to be running at the park. Just write it down, just like that. I'm going to go through work. What are my tasks for work this week? And that's usually a very long section. Get all the way down to creative things. What am I going to do creatively tomorrow? Just write it down. Don't worry about it. Just write it down. Then it's time to start organizing those things. And the best way to do that is just look for natural groupings. These are things that I do at home. These are things that I do at work. These are things that are the most important. These are the things that involve communication. Call so-and-so, email so-and-so, have a meeting with this person, call them back, follow up on this. Just these natural groupings. When you do that, right away, you're going to start to see what you will not have time for. And this is already, you should start the process of just saying, there's no way I'm going to be able to get that done tomorrow. No way I'll be able to go to the Y and, go fishing and make sure that I can watch a movie with the kids tomorrow. So one of these things has got to go. And you can start doing that right away when you're grouping them out. And once you've filtered out the extraneous things and you've got a pile of things that you're pretty sure you'll be able to get done, it's time to do what I call tier ranking your tasks. You've got to go through a ranking of which is the most important thing. And I'll just give you 3 different categories that you can do. And number 1 is the daily essentials. And the daily essentials are things that you're supposed to be doing every day or close to every day that often get neglected. They're the things that are not going to have an immediate benefit to you, but they're going to have negative effects in the long term if you neglect them. The 2 obvious ones I would say here for a believer are your daily quiet time, your devotions, which we talked about in the last episode. And then for just about anybody else, your time to exercise, your time to get out there and use your body and move it. And there will be other things on that list too. Things that you're supposed to be doing every day. If you're an artist, I imagine you've got to be writing or you've got to be painting, whatever it is every day. You want to put in your time, whatever your big goals are, the essentials go there. These are the things that would be forced out if they are not planned for. That all the things that have to happen because there's an external deadline attached to it is going to force it out. So your essentials go first. And I would say these are the things that go in first. Everything else comes after. Do your best to accomplish these things in the morning. And if you can't accomplish them all in the morning, then when it comes time to do that thing, you need to make it so that everything else gives way to that. You need to not say, well, I've got a few more things to do. You say, no, this is too important. It's not maybe important for today, but it's important for long term. So you can't skip your daily essentials. The next things are your important tasks. These are the main things that have to get done. My week as a pastor, there's a couple of things that have to get done no matter what. Recording BGTV episodes is one of those, although if I can get ahead on recording, sometimes I got some flexibility there. But I've got to edit our radio programs. I've got to make 2 Bible studies. And there's various things that happen, but those are kind of the essentials. The things that are, church is coming on Sunday and Wednesday. The podcast is going to have to go out. The radio show waits for nobody. So those things have to be done no matter what. And then there's usually things that are relevant to events that are coming up, or in my own personal life, there's things that are going on. If it's an anniversary or a birthday or something like that, those come next. And those are the things that are going to take the first priority after your daily essentials. And again, if the more important something is, the more I recommend doing it early in the day. Because if you try to do all your small things first so that you're free, and I'll have the whole day just to work on that. No, you're going to come to that project tired, things are going to come up during the day. You're going to get phone calls. You're going to get something dropped on your desk. By the time you get to it, you're not going to want to do it. You're just going to want to skip it. So put the important things at the start of the day. All right. These are the things that must get done either today or close to today. These are things that do have external deadlines to them and you need to make sure you accomplish them. And then, believe it or not, I'd put everything else in that last catch-all category. You've got your daily essentials, you got your important tasks, and everything else goes beneath that. Whether that is the things you've got to do at work, you've got an appointment today that's not going to happen every week, that goes in there. If you've got an event that you're going to with the family, if you've got a hobby that you like to engage in, if you've got a long-term project you're working on at work that isn't that essential, that goes there. And the reason I put those things there is because I want you to be ranking your tasks so that the most important things always get done. If you are getting those done, you're progressing forward. But if all you're doing is swatting the flies and you're never getting the big one, then you're gonna have some trouble. So everything else is put in what I like to call small piles. I like to set aside times in the day where what are we doing here? I'm studying for Wednesday night here. And when that's over, I've got 3 or 4 small things that I can get to if I complete that big task. I might say, this morning, I want to make sure I can get out and mow the lawn before it gets too hot. But number 1 is doing my devotions and exercising. If I get those things done, then the other smaller tasks can start to be addressed, but not before. And then what this allows you to do is it allows you to bump things. Okay, we're not going to have time for that. I'm not going to be able to do it. But then the more you do this, if you're doing it every day, you're going to start to recognize certain tasks that are constantly cropping up. And that's when you can start to plan for them. Okay, all right, this thing for the first 2 weeks of this was not important, but it's due in 2 more weeks, so I need to get it. Well, now it starts to move up the list. And also if it's things that you enjoy, and I mentioned fishing. If you like to go fishing, but that's never going to be essential, and you find yourself constantly skipping it, then you can notice that and you can say, all right, this time we're doing it for real. That's why I encourage you to tier rank your tasks, with your essentials, your important things, and then everything else basically goes down there. And don't be afraid to move things up the list depending on how the day is going. All right, once you've got your piles of things, you've got your tasks that you've basically ranked of what's important and what's not, I recommend scheduling your day. But I schedule it a little different than most folks. My grandfather was a daytimer guy. If you don't know about the Franklin Covey daytimer, those big old folders that they had, and he would, every hour of his day was planned out. He was a businessman. He knew what he was doing. It was great. And he actually bought me one, which I never used. And I always felt bad about that, right before the invention of the internet and the iPhone. And now here I am doing a podcast about organization. So go figure. But I recommend doing things not by the hour, not by the minute, but by doing them in blocks of time. A block of time rather than a minute-by-minute list, because you don't know how long something's going to take. That phone call might only take 5 minutes, but if it goes wrong, it could be an hour and 45 minutes. So you simply don't know. You need to schedule these things into blocks of time. Here's the blocks of time that I work with in my day. Feel free to steal them. Before work is a block of time. Before work, I have things that I want to get done before I get in the car and drive to the office. I got before lunch. This is when I'm at work, but it's before we've taken the big break of the day. I very often will skip lunch, but I'm trying to work on that. But still, I divide the day in the middle, before lunch. And then you have lunch break, which is where I will allow myself personally to, if I take usually about a 30-minute break, to accomplish a personal task. If I need to run an errand, I'll try to do it over my lunch break. I have after lunch, which is all the things that happen after the middle of the day at work. I have after work, which is when I come home. And for me, that's approximately from 6 to about 8:30 when my children are awake and the sun is still up and I'm home. And there's things that can only be done during that time. And sometimes I try to keep it free because the kids are home and I don't want to neglect them. And then before bed is the last time slot. That's when the children have gone to bed, but I have not yet. And I have a bad time of making this block way bigger than it needs to be. I have my before work block is sometimes as short as 45 minutes, which isn't good. That's just enough time to get dressed, basically. But then in the afternoon or the evening when I have my afterwards time, my before bed block, I'll let that one go to 2 a.m. sometimes. And that's not good because that means I'm taking the most important things and applying them to the shortest window of the day when all the things that are just for recreation typically are done at the end. And then I wake up the next morning and it's harder. It's harder to start the next day and accomplish things at the beginning because I'm too tired from the night before. The day kind of divides itself, and you might have a schedule that is a little more specific than mine. That's great. Follow that and set up blocks of time for yourself. And again, I've said this already. My recommendation is to assign your tasks based on importance. We've already ranked them. And you can do more than those 3 if you like. But I found keeping it simple is really, really easy because sometimes it's all you can do to get the big ones done before you hit all these small things. And you can also, here's a whole little lesson, but you can trick yourself into doing a bunch of small, unimportant tasks and thinking you are productive. Meanwhile, the big important thing is left undone for days and days at a time. So assign your tasks to the block of time based on their importance. If it's a lunch meeting, there's really nothing you can do about that. But if the most important thing, say for me, is to get my Bible studies done during the week, the mornings are for study time. The mornings are for reading, for outlining, for prayer, for writing up my notes. That happens in the morning. And also, if I have time working on those radio shows, that goes in the morning too. Afternoon is a little bit more flexible for me because by the time I get to 1 or 2 in the afternoon, hopefully I've done most of the things that I already needed to do today, and everything else is just going to be gravy after that. You got to do this because there's nothing worse than trying to find time for an important task. Trying to squeeze a workout in when you don't have a schedule for it, that's not going to happen. That's just a nightmare. Well, maybe I'll have time here, and you're going to show up and you're going to have to rush and you're not going to want to do it, and your body's going to tell you really don't need it. You can always do it tomorrow. You've got to schedule these things. And the same thing for important tasks at work. A lot of times the big important ones are the ones that we procrastinate and we put off because they're stressful. We got to make a big decision, or we're going to have to make a phone call we don't want to. If you schedule it first thing and you've already started work on it, you'll make some progress. And then by the time you get to the end of the day, hopefully you've already gotten that done, and the rest of the day is just going to be smiles for you. And once you have blocks of time as well, you can start to see, do I even have time for all these things? We already kind of did a filter at the beginning. We're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. Once you're starting to assign blocks of time, though, it's different to say, I'll do all that before lunch. It's different to then say, I'll do all of that between the hours of 9 and 12. You go, I don't think that's going to happen. Well, that's how you can start adjusting your schedule. And I would say lean it out as much as you can. Try to get the most important things and maybe a little bit more, not much more than that. Productivity is over a long time. It's not over one day. Don't try to kill it. Just try to get one thing done and try to get the next big thing done. That's how you should go about it. And what this does is it manages your expectations. Because there's two kinds of people. There's people who are over-schedulers. They're constantly filling their plate with stuff, and it's way more than they can ever do, so they never come to the end of the day feeling accomplished because there's always more than they could have done. Even if they got 20 things done, if you scheduled 30, you're going to feel like a loser. But then there's other folks who under-schedule. They only schedule 1 or 2 things to do during the day. They get them done, and then they go, well, now what? And also, you find things take longer because you've assigned a bigger block of time to them. So if you tie your schedule and your to-do list to the clock, now all of a sudden you know, okay, this is going to take longer than I thought, or it's going to take not as long as I thought. And you got to be constantly reevaluating that, okay, I had 2 things in that block of time, and then I ended up finishing 45 minutes early. Maybe I can fit a little bit more in there next time. But of course, all this said, if you don't stick to this once you make it, you might as well just give up. If you're just going to make it and then have it on your desk so that you feel good about it, now you've just added another task, and it would be better for you just to not have it. But if you stick with it, it'll go better for you. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in terms of winning the day, that the Lord has given you, making the most out of it, is learning to identify what I'll call negative subroutines. You might plan a lot. But let me ask you this question. What breaks the chain for you? Where is it in your life where you feel things break and it goes off course and not what you wanted to do today? I think you ought to make a list of this. Maybe if you're going to be making your plans in the evening for the next day, make a short list of the biggest distractions you have. What are the biggest things that suck your attention, suck your time away, and you would like to stop doing? The most common ones are, things like surfing the internet. It is nothing to pull out your phone and watch a quick 20 minutes of YouTube. It is nothing to spend a quick hour on Instagram. That's just how it is. These things are organized and designed to steal your attention. And that is not just a young person's thing, as we all know by now. So you need to take a look at that. How much of your day is that sucking away? And I don't think anybody comes out of a season of watching a bunch of YouTube junk in a row and thinking, wow, that was a really great use of my time. I'm glad I did that. Another one would be eating junk food. Not only does doing that make your body unhealthy, it adds to your time because you've got to go out and you've got to get it usually. You've got to spend more money and you just don't feel good afterwards. We all know that you don't feel good after eating that. You finish it and you go, oh, what did I do that for? And so you've introduced that. It's an indulgence in gluttony, an indulgence in the flesh. Or you're getting online, and hopefully it's not something as deadly as pornography, but that can be in there too. Or it's online shopping. You're wasting a bunch of your money just buying a bunch of stuff that you're never going to use. Often people have a subroutine, that your flesh is attuned to a pattern, that once you hit the trigger, it's going to follow these set of commands until it gets you all the way down here, and your day is totally ruined. You've got to look out for what are those starting markers? What are the triggers? What are the inputs that are going to cause you to go down this road where you're no longer living your life to the fullest. You're no longer winning the day for the sake of the Lord, but now you're in the hands of the flesh and you're in the cycle that's going to drag you down. It could be something like this. You get up your phone, you start scrolling TikTok. Well, if you do that, you're not just going to do one. It's just like the potato chips. You can't just do one. You're going to do 20. And if you do 20, you're going to do 30. And you'll do it too long. Now, what has this done? It's not something you wanted to do. In fact, it's something you said you didn't want to do, and yet you did it. You have just given into your flesh and weakened your resolve, which means you're no longer going to keep to that diet plan you had for yourself, and that rice and broccoli that you brought in the fridge looks terrible, and you're not going to want that, and you've already said yes to your flesh today. So now you're going to drive out and you're going to get Panda Express again. You're going to stuff your face and, be a little bit late coming back to work. And then you get into it. You got to try to get back to your work and you can't do it. And you feel disappointed in yourself. So then maybe you start going on Amazon and you start looking at all the things that you want, and maybe you've already spent money today, so who cares? The day's already torpedoed anyhow. Or maybe this is where guys can fall into pornography, boredom. And what I'm trying to show you is when you give into your flesh a little, it opens you up for the rest of the day. It's so much easier to say no to those things before you start them than after you've already gotten into it. And the lie is always, well, I can do one of these things and not the others. And that might not be your chain. That might not be your subroutine. But you need to find out what it is. You need to understand how the devil has come to attack you, that we are not ignorant of his devices personally, so that the Lord can help you to walk through those things. It may even be something like conversations with coworkers that, we're networking and we're working, or are you just hanging out, man? Is it killing your momentum and your drive during the day because you're constantly spending time talking to somebody? It could be a mental state that you have. We all know how it is to be 3:30 in the afternoon and everything just unplugs and you're like, why am I here? And I haven't been in the sun and I'm just miserable and what's the point of this stupid job? We all know how that feels. Well, if you feel that coming on, you need to know that is an open door to losing the day that you're trying to win, the day that you're trying to live out to its fullest. And you need to figure out what it is. Write them down. Write them down. What is? I have a tendency to what? And then name them. Like figure out the chain. Make it a game for yourself. Might not be very much fun, but you're identifying what the enemy tends to do. And label those things. And I would say even put them on your to-do list. Like know these things. Because this leads to that and that leads to that. Give them a clever name if you like, if it makes you make fun of it and think, I'm not going to fall into that. Because the worst thing that can happen to you when you've got a perfectly planned day is when you give in a little bit to something that you know is just going to bring you down. And then by the end of the day, there's that to-do list judging you because you know that you didn't give into it. I would say, though, the best way to avoid all these things is to do what we've been talking about today, is to schedule it, to plan the rest, to plan what you're going to do and know what you're going to do in that moment. Because for me, I found if I'm going to drift off during the day, it's going to happen when I'm in between tasks. I've done something big and I don't know what to do next. So I'll just take a few minutes and I'll get online, or I'll just go talk to so-and-so or whatever it is. And then that ends up being a waste of time. But if you're doing it according to the plan that you've made and you're hitting it hard and you've been doing it all day, you're going to be feeling so good. You're going to be feeling so fulfilled. You're going to be strong in the Lord because you've done your devotions, right? Physically, you're going to be feeling strong because you've been working out and you've come to your task and you've hit them hard. That when the temptation comes to get online, you're like, no, that's loser behavior, man. I'm going to keep on going. And it works. This is what we're supposed to do. You won't want the things of the flesh if you indulge in the things of the Spirit. It's kind of funny to call it indulging, isn't it? And you might say, well, this isn't spiritual. It's just work. You're thinking about it all wrong, friend. It's all spiritual if it's what God has called you to do and you're doing it as unto the Lord. My best days are when I have my list made and I keep to the schedule. Not even when I do everything on that list. I very rarely get what I'll call a perfect score. And when I do, I always tell my wife about it. I highlight things on my list. And if they're all highlighted, I'm like, perfect score today. Happens once or twice a year maybe. But if you're following the schedule and you're getting the essentials done, then you'll know, okay, I wanted to do this thing today, but we ran out of time and I didn't get a chance to do it. So now it's no longer a failure. I failed to do it. It's we ran out of time. We'll get it tomorrow. And that always feels better. Getting the essentials done is great. How would you just think about this? Would you like to come home and your work doesn't follow you there? You come home and you don't have to worry about all the things that you mess. You don't need to, finish something off at the house. You can just relax. You can just play a game. You can just go fishing, or you can go make a snow angel. I don't know. Do whatever you want, because you have this time set aside for those things, and you're not feeling like you're stealing from something else. Today might have felt really practical and less, specifically spiritual for you. But you know what? God delights in our labor. God delights in giving rest to his people. So why shouldn't you? I want you to win every single day. I want you to be able to wake up excited for the life God gave you, live it to the fullest, even in all of its mundane, everyday details, and then come to the end saying, I can't wait to get up and do it again tomorrow. So start tonight and get after it first thing tomorrow. This has been Difference Makers. My name is Pastor Tyler Warner from Calvary Chapel, Trussville. I'm so glad you made it today. Talking about a real practical lesson about winning the day. I want to remind you one more time about ironworks.media. That's our resource network over there at Calvary Chapel. We got books, we got podcasts, got this book right here you can go check out, and a new one coming out this fall. Join our mailing list, and you can find out all about that. You can find out more about the church at calvarychapeltrussville.com. Now go home, make your list, get after it tomorrow so that you can make a difference.